Well, China has lashed out yet again as a diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics widens. Australia has come on board the US-led campaign, while Canada and Britain are weighing similar moves. Beijing has denounced Canberra for blindly following Washington. It is calling the move political posturing. Australian athletes can still compete, but government officials will not make the trip to Beijing. Prime Minister Scott Morrison says the country's decision should not have come as a surprise. Relations have been in freefall in recent years over a range of issues like trade, security and human rights. Canberra has accused Beijing of rejecting opportunities to improve ties, insisting that it's still willing to talk. But China says the blame lies squarely with the Australian side.
中方没有邀请任何澳大利亚政府官员出席北京冬奥会，他们来或者不来，没有人会在意。澳方政客出于政治私利、作秀、炒作，对北京成功举办冬奥会不会有任何影响。
Olivia Xiong joins us live for more. Ollie, that angry Chinese response that we heard, it was to be expected, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely no surprise with China's response there. China accusing Australia of blindly following the US and of political posturing, adding that nobody cares if politicians attend the games or not, saying that Australian officials had not even been invited in the first place. Now, this is a similar angry, stern response that we're seeing from China, similar to what we had seen yesterday when it had hit back at the US, confirming its own diplomatic boycott, where Beijing warned that the US would pay the price for its actions. And China's embassy in Canberra also said that the Australian move is contrary to its public statement of wanting to improve China-Australia ties. As we do know, the bilateral relationship between the two sides has been very tense, very rocky. Beijing angered as Australia has called for an independent investigation into the origins of COVID-19, also with Australia's new security arrangement with the US and the UK, and as it has acquired nuclear-powered submarines. Australia, in explaining its decision and explaining its reasons behind its decision for this diplomatic boycott, has said that it's taking issue with Beijing not wanting to have its officials meet for talks. Also, those alleged human rights abuses in Xinjiang, something that China continues to deny.
需要指出的是，澳大利亚将是否派政府官员出席北京冬奥会，同所谓的新疆人权问题挂钩，这完全是欲加之罪，何患无辞。
So, Ollie, first we had the US, now Australia, and perhaps others down the line. How potentially significant could this be for the Games?
Well, a boycott has been talked about for some time now. There have been concerns raised over China's human rights record, whether it comes to alleged abuses in Xinjiang or suppression in Hong Kong and Tibet, and increasingly over the safety of Chinese tennis star Peng Shuai as well. We have seen rights groups, politicians lobbying for governments to do something about this and for there to be a boycott. So observers say it would be politically advantageous for countries like the US to go ahead with this sort of diplomatic boycott. But we have to note that this is a diplomatic move, meaning that athletes will still be allowed to participate in the games. So perhaps this is more of a symbolic move and not be seen as serious if athletes had been disallowed from participating in the games as well. China has also played down the impact of the diplomatic boycott, saying this will not affect the success of the games being held by Beijing. COVID-19 restrictions are another factor here. We have seen New Zealand say that it would not be sending diplomatic representatives at the ministerial level to the Winter Olympics and has cited mainly COVID-19 reasons for this. And what some analysts are saying is the fact that China has very strict COVID-19 prevention measures in place would possibly make it very difficult for foreign leaders or for officials to actually attend the games. Also remember that no spectators from overseas are being allowed at the venue. And so this may moderate the fallout somewhat. But perhaps what is of greater concern to China is what it sees as the U.S. trying to shore up support among countries to suppress its rise. And we know that countries like Japan, the UK, Canada have yet to announce their decision on whether they will follow on with a similar diplomatic boycott. Also, this being ahead of that democracy summit that the U.S. is planning to hold.
Olivia Seong in Beijing, thank you for that. Now, the International Olympic Committee says it respects the United States' planned diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics. Still, it is stressing that the Games transcend politics.
It's a political decision which we respect their right to take that decision. But what it also shows is that they respect the right of the athletes to take part in the Olympic Games, and I think that's very important.
At the same time, the IOC has defended its handling of Chinese tennis player Peng Shuai's case. The committee is standing by what it calls a quiet diplomacy approach, saying it has secured a personal meeting with her next month. There has been global concern over Peng's well-being after the athlete came out a month ago to accuse a leading Chinese Communist Party politician of sexual assault.
Our people are talking regularly with the sports organizations in China at large, and we have had 2 direct contacts with the athlete herself, and we are in direct contact not only by our own president or high people in our organization, but namely also the Athletes Commission of the IOC is in contact with the athlete. So we are trying to cover that. We need to be discreet. We have to respect her desire for discretion.